After the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941, Japanese Americans were classified as enemy aliens and not allowed to enlist in the military. George Fujii said,
And then all of a sudden you realize now you feel sort of responsible for it. You have a close tie with Japan and Japanese people, and I said, oh my God. And then they made a mistake. At the same time, I make a mistake. That's what happened, see, being Japanese.
So you identified really
Yeah,
as Japanese.
yeah. And what would they think of me or think of my family? First thing, you see. It's a very mixed emotion now. I don't know how any Nisei can describe that.
On February 1st, 1943, President Roosevelt decided to allow Japanese Americans to serve in an entirely Japanese American battalion, the 442nd Infantry Regimental Combat Team. Volunteers chose to fight in the war because they wanted to better the future of the Japanese in America by showing their dedication and loyalty to the country. Far fewer volunteers came from the camps than expected. Military officials instituted the draft for the incarcerates in the camps in December of 1943. George Fujii was incarcerated at the Colorado River Relocation Center in Poston, Arizona, where he secretly released dispatches from inside the camp and went by the pseudonym, the Voice of Nisei. Believing that Japanese Americans must be treated like citizens before they were asked to risk their lives in combat, Fujii encouraged incarcerates to resist the draft. He learned that he and his fellow incarcerated Japanese American men were required to register for selective service. In response, he posted handbills around the camp in latrines, discouraging draft-age men from cooperating. These handbills basically supported the draft, but took the opportunity to urge the restoration of rights and correction of wrongs done to second-generation Japanese Americans. He said, "Then the evacuation came, and they classified me as a 4C. 4C is an undraftable citizen. I don't know how you would interpret that, but some Japanese took it as a meaning that they were not U.S. citizens. You were a citizen, but you were undraftable. They didn't tell you the reason why. I figured that I had spent too many years in Japan, so that was the classification they gave me. I wasn't subject to be drafted, yet in Poston we were asked questions 27 and 28, whether we would defend the United States. I told the truth and answered yes, yes. I signed the whole thing away. In the first place, anything the government asked me to do, I did it. In the second place, in order for me to protest the government or demand a right to the government, I would have to be a citizen. If you declare yourself a non-citizen, then you have no right to protest. That was my interpretation of the whole matter, so I kept my position as a citizen intact so that I could protest the government. Then this draft thing came along. I had a bad history as far as the administration or the government was concerned. There were those who said, if they're going to treat us like Japanese, then the hell with serving in the U.S. Army. I told them to take it easy. I calmed them down, but they put me in jail for agitating. On February 21st, 1944, 28-year-old George Fujii was arrested and sent to a Phoenix jail to be arraigned for sedition, but ultimately acquitted, as the judge's interpretation of the letter was, it does not constitute sedition, but merely a protest. George said, I think his name was Judge Ling who tried me. His interpretation of the letter was, it does not constitute a sedition, but merely a protest. So I was acquitted. He said, at the same time, I felt that since I had reserved my citizenship, reserved my status as an American citizen, I would write to protest the draft. So I wrote letters to President Roosevelt, Governor Warren, General DeWitt, and Mayor Bowron. and being a Kibe, whose English is not good, I suppose I use the phrase, die in vain. If you were drafted without being recognized as a citizen and then were to die, you would have died in vain. That's how I use the phrase. I still regret having used that expression, but that was a true feeling. So they put me in jail for agitation, for leading an anti-draft plot. Mr. Fujii and others, like him, were willing to defend their country, but not until their basic civil rights had been restored. The federal government not only failed to respond to their demands, but it also indicted, prosecuted, and convicted them.
And of course, I still maintain that the incident of evacuation should be forgiven, but should not be forgotten. And this evacuation is to protect Japanese. I don't go for it because I didn't feel it at all. I don't think this will justify the evacuation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.